3-star athletes. I said you don't pay much attention to that, but you started to bring in All-American guys and 4-star.
Yeah, but I didn't bring them in because they're All-Americans. God brought them in because I liked them.
But
I don't care what you think. I don't care what everybody else thinks. I'm bringing them because I like them. They just happen to be somebody else's All-American. I didn't make them an All-American.
Yeah, but those guys.
Well, that doesn't matter. I'm recruiting them. Doesn't matter what they think. Doesn't matter what the stars say. Jerry Hughes was a 2-star, even a 1-star. He's been one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Andy Dalton was a 2-star, 1-star, but he was probably, if we had been in the Big 12, they probably would have been both 4-stars. That's the reason why. They were a 4-star to me. They were just a 2-star to you, or whoever it was that ranked them. So for me, what happens with what guys get stars is because they are good enough that a whole bunch of people offer them, and you get a chance. But I'll give you a great. You know who O'Shawn Mathis is?
Yeah.
Okay, so how many stars does he have?
3 stars.
He has 3, but he had 2 most of the time. You know why he didn't have any more? Because he's a 5-star. And if you watch him play, he's 6'5". I thought he runs like a wide receiver and he's a defensive end. The difference is he didn't go to any of these All-Star camps. He didn't go to the opening. He didn't go to the All-American. He didn't go to any of them. He's been committed to TCU, and he's a 6'5", 240-pound dude that runs like a wide receiver. But he's not a 5-star in anybody's mind because he's a 5-star to me. Because he's the best. He may be the best defensive end I've recruited since Jerry Hughes or anybody else, but he was a 3-star to everybody else. And that's my whole point is I watch because I'm interested. It's not that I don't pay attention to them. I just don't offer them because of what the stars say. I watch them on film, I watch them in camps, and I decide. There's a lot of guys that are even in this area that I don't offer scholarships to, and they come and tell me, well, I'm a 4-star and all these people. That's good. I'm glad you got a scholarship because you're going to get your education paid for. But the bottom line to it is, I never offered Sean Robinson because he was an All-American, or Justin Rogers because he was an All-American. I offered him because I think they're really good quarterbacks, and we evaluated them as really good quarterbacks. And that's when we've had bad years. You know, when our worst years been recruiting those guys is when we've come off what people thought were great seasons. Probably the recruiting class after the Rose Bowl. Because that 2013, that class 13-14, I mean, we went 4-8. Okay, those guys didn't stay because they came for the wrong reasons. The guys that we've had the best recruiting classes on sometimes have been when we've had average seasons. Because guys come because they think they can play because they don't think we have any players. I mean, there's a variety of reasons why, but it still comes down to the reason we offered them is because we thought they fit our system. And I don't mean to be bad, but I get it all the time. Is everybody thinks, well, so do you think if TCU wasn't in the Big 12 and I got Sean Robinson and Justin Rogers, you think they would be and we got them, you think they'd stay as a 4? Because I've been where a kid was committed to us, and he was a 2-star, and he changed to Texas, and the next day he became a 4-star. So somewhere between drinking water and going to the bathroom and sleeping at night, he became a better player in 24 hours. I mean, so this was back, 10, 15 years ago. So for me, that's why I've always stayed away from it. I mean, it's do I talk to these guys, all the recruiting? Yeah, I do, because they see kids more than what I see them, and I value their opinion, and they know what kind of players that we have, and they know what we like, and so I think they'll tell me, I think he's your kind of player, and do all. So I judge everybody's opinion, especially if they watch them and then I watch them, and then what they tell me is true, and then my confidence level goes up. And Jeremy Clark tells me something about a guy, and he's exactly, when I finally get a chance to see him in person, then I'm going to trust him more the next time. I mean, I do the same thing with my coaches, and I'll give you a great example. When I was recruiting, I've always recruited defensive guys. One of the hardest things because it's easy to see a skilled guy if he can play or not. One of the hardest positions for me over the last 20 years once I became a head coach is offensive lineman. I never recruited offensive linemen. I wasn't an offensive lineman. I didn't coach offensive linemen. So I've had to learn how to evaluate offensive linemen. And we've had 13 guys in 17 years that have made it on to NFL teams. But I have to trust. I've learned, well, what do you like? Why did you recruit them? My guys on my staff, well, why do you like them? And obviously I trust the offensive line coach's opinion more than I trust the corners.
You've mentioned before
about the round robin of the league. What is that the most difficult thing about winning this league, or is there other?
Well, yeah, because it's got so much parity. It's got so much parity that, you know, we hurt ourselves because you got to go undefeated. You got to be on your game, and you have to have some luck on your side and no injuries, and just go down the list of all the things that have to happen for you to be successful. Because you're not going to fool anybody after you play them a couple years. There's only so many ways you can run a play or run a trick play, or because I just keep a running total of anybody's trick plays. We just keep adding it on every year. So you know, you go back and you try them all out. So it's not like, well, we hadn't run this since 6 years ago. No, we worked on it.
A couple of things.
You worked on all of them.
Oh, you got it. Somewhere in the spring, somewhere you're going.
50 trick plays.
Oh yeah, they had 50. We wouldn't be able to work on them, but you kind of know what you've seen what they've done earlier in the season, and they're probably not going to do that again.
Right.
So you can start crossing things off as you go. And some people, they will repeat them.
Right.
Hey, what was the toughest play to defend last year in the Big 12?
Toughest play? I don't know. It just depends on the offense.
Like a specific team that you felt like this is just
you know,
trouble
well,
for us?
number one, everybody's, you know, when they put time, they put triple option concepts back into what they do, and everybody in our league has a little bit of that. You know, we go back. You know, that's why I've already watched our first 4 teams 3 times through of all their cut-ups. And how do you prepare for 2-a-days? Because you got to put everything in that you're going to play, and you got to play your own offense. Plus, you also got to start teaching what they do, and you have to have answers. You can't wait till the week of. One of the biggest mistakes, if they ever do it, I don't think very many do it, is you don't have an answer. And you wait till the Sunday of game week, and then you want to teach your kids. We try to come with that answer in the spring and in 2-a-days when you have extra practices, not when you only get 2 days, a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and then the other 2 days you're in shorts. So you gotta have an answer for that sooner than later. So
How many teams in football run triple options?
oh, they all do.
Pretty much
They
everybody.
just will. Everything that's in a pistol, that they have a tight end going across and he's going and blocking a secondary player is a triple option play.
Right.
You know, it's like for example, Ohio State doesn't run the read zone; they run the veer.
Mm-hmm.
Their quarterback doesn't go sideways; they move up with their read, which is just like almost where a quarterback is if he stepped back underneath the center in his read. And so you've got to understand. You got to make your kids understand. Well, and Texas does the same thing. I mean, they got a lot of veer scheme to themselves, even as much as they have zone read scheme. So,
You know, this is the 50-year anniversary of the wishbone.
I did not know that.
Were you ever on a team that ran the wishbone?
No.
Never.
No, well, you know, that's incorrect. I was at Navy. Triple option, not the true bone, but the double slot stuff with Paul Johnson.
Right.
Yeah, that's where my whole background comes. That's why in 2-a-days in the spring, we still work half line option. We will never give away our knowledge of how to play the triple option. Number one, it's really good for defense in your eyes. And we'll do it 3 times, probably at least 3 times half line option in the spring. And after we install, we'll probably do it 3 or 4 times before we play our first ball game in the fall.
Has that been the most revolutionary thing you ever hit football?
What?
The wishbone, the triple.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not that old.
Yeah. What's been the most revolutionary since?
I don't know. I think it just depends on whatever anybody does well.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think anybody invents anything more. I think they steal, and they've changed the concept enough that it fits what they do. I mean, it's hard. I mean, you look at everybody talked about the Chicago Bear 46 defense. That book was written in 1955. I mean, it's all.
Right.
You know, how do you put that concept into? How do you put that concept into what you do and it helps you change? Because you better not just do everything. I better not on defense. I better come up with a couple wrinkles going into the fall on defense that I did not do last year because everybody studied us.
But you won't see anybody other than Navy or Georgia Tech from the wishbone now, will you?
Oh yeah, well they don't. It just depends on what you want to call the triple option.
I mean, if that's your base.
There's still a lot of people that are doing triple option out of 2-back.
Yeah.
And anytime they run the read and they run the bubble, that's the pitch man. Everybody's finding their different way of running the option. They're just doing it out of gun.
Right.
So if a defensive guy hasn't figured that out, they're probably not being very successful on defense, to be honest with you.
You mentioned this morning that you felt like the league was wide open this year. Is that largely because Baker Mayfield is no longer in it?
No, it wasn't one person. Oklahoma lost a lot of good players. They lost, 3 offensive linemen went the first 2 or 3 rounds. They walked a fullback, a tight end. I mean, they lost a lot of good players on offense. So it was because everybody's lost a lot of good players. I mean, those guys all had been 4-year starters. Not just Baker Mayfield. There was a lot of good starters. There was a lot of good players at Oklahoma that were good players. And so, if you just look around the league, everybody's done that. That's why I said back in January, if you listen to anything I said in May in Phoenix, I thought the team that did the best job starting in January, and I've always felt like this, grow your team up, get in spring ball, try to make them better, get to May, get to June, and see how your kids do it on their own in the summertime, and then how you put everybody in perspective and put them in a position where you can become better in your fall practices, because we all get 25 opportunities, 39 opportunities, 25 padded practices. So
you also put 2008 Oklahoma #1 and 2017 Oklahoma #2.
No, I don't. They were. I said I hadn't seen anybody that good played against somebody that good since 2008. I didn't rank 1 or 2.
Do you want to rank them now?
No, I'm not. I'm not a young rookie head coach. You can go do that yourself.